Hi, this is Grant Tate. I'm the CEO of The Bridge Ltd. in Charlottesville, Virginia. I'm going to go through a presentation that we made last night at an open meeting here in Charlottesville about the new CATEC, the Charlottesville Albemarle Technical Education Center. We've had a project we've been working on for 4 months to redesign the program at CATEC, our local regional vocational education center. We have a 5-person team that includes Patty Collada, Kevin Willis, Tom Smith, Jennifer Till, and me. Each of us brings unique experience in education and training, as well as working with adults and businesses to help them be more efficient and make better decisions. The current CATEC model is basically a part-time supplement to high schools. So a student is regularly enrolled in one of the area high schools in either Albemarle or Charlottesville County, and they come to CATEC part-time to take courses. And in this chart, you can see the variety of courses that are offered: automotive body, some human services such as cosmetology, barbering, building trades, carpentry, electrician, masonry, health and medical services such as dental assistant and nurse's aide, and so forth. The students as currently enrolled are primarily non-college bound, and that is they've chosen to go to CATEC to be able to get a job when they finish CATEC, or perhaps go on to the community college. There are certifications in some fields, and there are across the fields there's mixed employer engagement, which means that in some of the fields there are sponsoring organizations that work with CATEC to develop the curriculum and to perhaps hire the graduates. In other fields, not so much. The instructors come primarily from the career tracks. The building has been in place for many, many years, and we would consider that obsolete. There are equipment challenges, and the school is funded through the school systems and administered by a board that is that's composed of representatives of the Charlottesville and Albemarle County school boards. When we began the project, they asked us to consider not incremental change, but radical change. So we were asked to take a whole fresh look at the organization and the needs and see what needed to be done to help prepare our students for the future. We considered that there are 2 primary customers for our project. The first customer is, of course, the students, and the second customers are the employers. So the solution has to consider both elements. The design process that we've used starts out by having an outside-in point of view. That is, we are going to look at the needs and what's required for jobs in the future, and then try to design programs to meet those. So here roughly is the design process. First of all, research. What's going on out there? What's the situation with jobs? What's the situation with regard to growing needs? What are the dynamics in the jobs marketplace? From that, we developed a design criteria. That is, what does an ideal vocational center look like? Then we developed prototypes, and we developed 5 different models that we went on the road with and took to stakeholders, primarily businesses or opinion leaders in our community. We've also talked to students, teachers, and lots of people to get their viewpoint. From the feedback of those sessions, we select and perfect the best model. And so today we're going to talk about what I call the composite model, or the Institute's model, which has been derived from the feedback from those other models. One thing important here is the process basically is design thinking. And that is, when we talk to people, we try to get in-depth interviews rather than a very thin statistical analysis of the marketplace out there for jobs. So the presentation at the open meeting, which occurred last night on the 13th, included highlights from research, and I'll go through that right now. Overview of the new model development. What is the preliminary new model? Then we'll take questions and answers and comments. So since you're watching this video as a recorded video, there's obviously not room for Q&As. But we do have a video of some of the Q&As, and we will edit that to see if it would make a good YouTube presentation. So let's look at some highlights from research. First of all, there are lots of pressures on jobs, and all of us know that. The impact of technology, the cheap communications, and then I've mentioned that basically communications is free. And we're seeing the impact of that all over the world. Instantaneous communications of events around the world, which amounts to many other challenges because we're overwhelmed with information. Technology is in fact affecting all jobs. And one of the recent research reports said that 46% of the jobs in the United States would be severely impacted by technology in the next 5 or 10 years. There's a lot of work still going on with offshoring, which means that everything from customer service representatives to even legal assistants have been affected by jobs moving to other lower cost countries. A lot of effort for part-timing, that is, the people are having trouble finding full-time jobs because a lot of economic pressures going on. Impact of social networks, changing cultures, and so forth. So we all know there's a very dynamic and rapidly changing job environment, and that presents a challenge to everyone looking for a job or trying to build a career within a job track. Let's look at the needs. The Bureau of Labor Statistics estimated that 54.8 million jobs would be open between 2010 through 2020. That's 20 million new jobs and 34 million jobs to replace current workers. And that is the baby boom generation. If you look at what some of the requirements are for the jobs, of the kind of skills required on a general basis, the non-routine interpersonal and non-routine analytical components of work have increased over time, whereas the routine manual jobs, components of jobs, has significantly decreased. This last statistic is 2009, but we see that continuing into the future. There's a mismatch between need and supply. And if you look at the demand that is projected for the United States, the biggest gap appears in the middle skill jobs. And those are electricians, plumbers, people who can work with their hands, electronic technicians, and such. High skill workers, college graduates, engineers, those types of things, they project that there will be an oversupply. And we're seeing some of that now. I met a young man just recently who was working in an electronics store, but he had a degree in business, and he said he had trouble finding a job in business, so he went into work at the store and has worked his way up to be a key salesperson in that store. So the middle skill workers is the real challenge, and we're seeing that across industries, and the various statistics have demonstrated that. So Stephen Fuller, who is at George Mason University in Virginia, just summed it up by saying the demand for workers to fill new and replacement jobs will substantially exceed the supply of available workers in every major occupational category. Basically, he's saying we don't have a jobs problem. We have a training and awareness problem. And if you look at national statistics today, we hear a lot about unemployment, but we also hear about people who cannot find jobs, and what that amounts to is a basic skill mismatch. The Weldon Cooper Center in Virginia, who's located here in Charlottesville, surveyed over 300 companies a couple of years ago and asked what are the most important, what essential skills for people that they're hiring. And if you look at this list, you will see positive work ethic, speaking and listening, professional ethics, and so forth. All the so-called soft skills are at the top of the list. This survey went on to categorize those into these 5 competencies where a person can identify, organize, and plans and allocate resources, works well with others, can use information, can understand complex interrelationships, and can work with a variety of technologies. And then they listed the foundation for work with the basic skills of learning and of being able to read, write, and do arithmetic, thinking creatively, and responsible personal qualities. It's been said, and there are many, we've all heard this many times, that the average person will have 7 different jobs in a career. There was an article recently, and the link is here on this chart, that the Wall Street Journal investigated this, and they could find no substantial research to support that. Now, intuitively, when you talk to people, you see that they've come through a variety of different tracks. And so if in a 35-year career, it would probably be not unusual that someone has 7 jobs. But let's look at the path to those jobs. In the old way, we used to think that we would graduate from college or community college or high school and head for a job with a direct path. And that job might be reasonably secure. So if you went to work for General Motors or IBM or some of the larger companies, you could pretty much count on a long-term career. Today's path looks more like this. We've interviewed lots and lots of people, and the path to an ideal job is many times a series of different steps, searching for the right combination. The company Intermetrics supplies our personal assessments that we use in our work. Says there are 2 elements of success. One is self-awareness, knowing your own self, what you want, and your skills. And the second is authenticity, which means finding the job that matches your skill set. In the people that I've talked to and the people that have found the job that they really love, 2 things stand out. Well, I should say really 3. The first is persistence, pushing to find the right combination that makes sense. The second is self-confidence, to be able to work and build skills, and the third is having marketable skills. So in this complex job market, what makes a lot of sense? Well, first, learn marketable skills and do it as soon as you can in life. Build your skill portfolio. Plan in 5-year increments, but continue to move toward your dream, and keep on learning. And I believe that is a pretty good winning strategy for developing a career these days. So I'll not go through all of these elements in the research finding. You can see them click on the screen. But one I'd like to mention is that the young people are getting less real work experience while they're in high school. In fact, the statistics show that children today get half the experience that they did 10 years ago in real work. And that's partly because of the recession, perhaps, where adults have been taking the low-level jobs, but it also is that they're involved in a lot of other activities, from sports to perhaps video games or whatever. And of course, a lot depends on the economic condition of the family and the choices that they have. The other factor, of course, is that businesses seem to be offering fewer opportunities for students to come and work part-time. And there are safety and OSHA considerations. There are restrictions in the age we can hire, and those things have an impact as well. So let's take a look at the preliminary model. The caveats is that this new model is tentative. It's going to be updated as a result of comments and suggestions. The model has not yet been submitted to the CATEC board, but we will present to them on the 21st of January in this year, 2014. We will present the final model in our next open meeting, and we're planning an open meeting in Charlottesville area in the third week of February in 2014 to present that model. We had 5 different tentative models that we took out. I mentioned this earlier, and the 2 of them got the most favorable feedback, and we'll work on developing those and show you what they are. The first was the career plan integration model, and this says that we develop a learning track that connects CATEC with community college and eventually university. So basically what we do is develop a curricula where a student can move into this track at CATEC and continue to build skills and education up through the years. This means that a student could jump off at the track after CATEC and get a certain level of basic job, or continue to community college and develop further skills and jump out and get a job, or continue on to the university. The way that the curriculum would be developed would be through an employer and academic council. This is an advisory council that would help develop the curriculum and help to integrate this so that students could move smoothly through the system. And this, of course, would support economic development innovation clusters as an economic development plan. And this model would also consider apprenticeships and other real job experience as we go. As we looked at this, we recognized that close integration with the community college is really crucial to this. In fact, one of the things we're talking about, and thanks to Dr. Frank Friedman, who's the president of Piedmont Virginia Community College, that we look at the last 2 years of high school and the 2 years of community college as basically a package, so that this is can develop a complete job education and training for the student. So this model has a strong link to the innovation clusters. It has close curricular linkage with PVCC and CATEC. It gives us a good integrated approach to laboratories where you can get hands-on experience. But it also has strong engagement of employers. They are part of the strong advisory network. They help in developing the curriculum. They provide mentors, apprenticeships, and work opportunities, give performance feedback, provide adjunct teachers, and so forth. The second model is, we often call this the cloud model just because of the representation we've given it. But it's the Centers of Excellence model, which says that to develop the kind of courses that we need people who can really understand the jobs and develop the kind of training and education and laboratory courses to develop the skills required. That instructional design expertise usually comes from industry, not within the school system, because the school systems are designing other kinds of courses like basic education, calculus, or other mathematical courses. And so this Center of Excellence model has people who can help design curriculum and help design courses that can take advantage of modern technology, multimedia, visual, and other means. It also has an assessment center. The assessment center can evaluate students and give them guidance as to how to work their way through the curriculum and choose courses, help guide them toward career choices, and to also give certifications as required. And one of the things that we have found in talking to people, and we had a parent who spoke at our meeting last night who said that her son very much wants to get into automotive technology, but is being actively discouraged by the guidance counselor and the teachers. And so, but that's not the fault of the guidance counselors. That's the fault of our orientation for the guidance counselors, and also because they need a broader base of knowledge to know what opportunities are really out there. And so here are the ground rules we established for what we're calling the Institute's model. This is the integrated model that has come together after our work. The curricula and labs are developed in collaboration with PVCC. It combines elements of those previous two that I mentioned. It's based on a long-range view, each element developed according to demand. As curricula develop, courses are either assigned to CATEC or PVCC. They produce trainable graduates, which says they are graduates who understand lifelong learning and are committed to it. The graduates can go to community college, apprenticeships, university, or company training after going to CATEC. Each institute has an active employer academic instructional design council. Computer skills are built into every institute, and students can cross over among the institutes. And so let's take a look. We're going to build this one by one as we go along. The first one is Skilled Trades Institute. This conglomerates the many of the current courses presently run at CATEC, but it's primarily aimed at construction trades and for those sorts of hands-on kinds of careers, from HVAC to building. So you see things like the CAD/CAM, the design courses. You see small company management here. You see project management. You see estimating design, but also things like carpentry and masonry fall within this realm. This should be of great interest to people who build things and companies. We have several large companies in our area and many small companies who employ people of these skills and background. The next one is Customer Service Institute. And as we talk these through, I should mention to you that these institutes will have to be named in such a way to attract students, and also in such a way that employers will know what we're aiming toward. But the idea here is to develop people who are good in sales, who understand modern sales and marketing, who understand how to build customer loyalty and deal with customers and clients, and use the technology accordingly. The kind of industries interested in this would be our electronic businesses, such as Crutchfield, Plow and Hearth, as well as the hotels, hospitals. Any business can use customer service training and development. One of the things we talked about in the meeting is that if we get really good at this, then we can help develop Charlottesville area, the region, as the customer service capital of the world, where people come here because of the wonderful service and friendly environment that they get here. The next one is Manufacturing and Information Technology Institute. Our manufacturing base, like other places, has been decreasing over the years, but yet manufacturing is changing. It's becoming more systems-oriented. It's becoming more technology-oriented in different ways. Laser technology is important. Robotics, the 3D printing. And so one of the things we can expect to see is because it doesn't take a huge investment to start manufacturing something, then the technologies that students learn here can help them go into the businesses that require developing the manufacturing processes. Also, a lot of those manufacturing skills are transferable to other things. Also, this track includes networks, data analysis, database applications, and basically IT systems and the computer and information technology systems work. The next one is Healthcare Services Institute, which goes hand in hand with a lot of our local industries such as the hospitals and healthcare, as well as senior care and other things. Of course, this is a growing area all over the country, and this basically helps prepare people to get ready for careers in that field. One of the innovations that has come out of CATEC just recently is Early Childhood Education Institute, which focuses on child care, pre-K child development, and is being put together in cooperation with the PVCC and also with input from Curry School of Education. And one of the very interesting things here is to develop a laboratory on site where there can be a child care center where students can get real experience and also serve the community. Now, throughout the institutes, the self-developments are important. Haven't shown this as within each of the institutes, but basically this skill sets, the work skills development, which is also a defined track in the schools these days. But this self-development foundations has the kind of courses and development that helps students develop the soft skills I talked about earlier to be able to do jobs in any of the fields. And then now we see the Skills Assessment Center. This is the place where students can go to get real up-to-date evaluation of their current capabilities, and also can get guidance about the kind of careers that they might aim for. And it's the center that also issues certifications for graduates where appropriate. Then the Program Design Center, we have indicated a distance education center which would help transmit courses around. This is the place that keeps up to date on the changing trends going on in the outside world. They help with curriculum design and course design. So when we put all those together, here's what CATEC looks like. You see all of the institutes shown there, plus the Skills Assessment Center and the Program Design Center. Here is another representation of it, if you like a spider chart. So the features of this model, each of the institutes is designed to be large enough to attract the employer and business interest, not just a narrow segment of that. And so we hope that we'll get good employer involvement for program development and laboratory optimization skills. There will be an employer-faculty council for each institute to help guide program development. The institute serves both high schools and adults who need the coursework. However, if we're not able to get enough support from the business and employer community, we just won't do it. The institutes could be funded by public-private partnerships. The graduates of the institutes have basic work skills and are ready for next steps. Then the Design Center will help design courses and curricula, and the Skills Assessment works with the children to select the study track. We've developed a tracking of the current courses, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time here on that, but here are the steps to the model. First of all, we have to select the key leaders, redefine the role of the CATEC director to focus on strategic objectives. In other words, running the place is an everyday full-time job, but Mr. Hastings, Dr. Hastings, who's the CATEC director today will need to focus more on how do you implement this plan. We want a public-private steering group to oversee the change process. We need to decide the sequence of institute formation, which ones we'll study first and get in place first. Establish and approve a calendar of events. Establish a program design center. Approve the outline process for the proposal presentation. In other words, what do we expect from the study groups? And approve a budget for the planning process. So overall, the structure looks like this. Here's the CATEC board. We'd also have input from PVCC. The steering group then would oversee the whole process of implementation. There's a planning team for each of the institutes supported by a curriculum design team. We've also developed steps of how do you implement each of the institutes. I won't go through all of those in detail. If at the end of this presentation you want to be able to get a copy of this and to read this detail, you can either stop the video right now and look at it, or you can email us to get a copy of this presentation. So we suggest that perhaps we start with the Customer Service Institute and then move to skilled trades as a beginning step. So here's some open questions we have to still address once we've worked our way through the institute. So is this a full-time or part-time program? In other words, is it possible to implement the proposed curriculum yet and remain a part-time institution? And if it moves full-time, what are the implications for the current high schools and CATEC? Should we be centralized or distributed? There's some concern that we may need to serve the regional localities. Also, do we need a center in downtown Charlottesville? Where do we locate the different pieces? Can the model support all jurisdictions? The rebranding or renaming is something that we have to consider after we've done all the details. What about building and equipment? And what's the full implementation budget? And what are the funding streams? So there are some risks. Scale. Can the community support the comprehensive model? As we go through this, if the community gets behind it, I'm convinced that the model would serve the community well. But everybody has to be on board. Will the employers deliver on their parts? Their parts is not just supporting this, but also how do the companies and employers link their on-the-job training and other elements within their own employee development regime to get the best kind of employees they need? Is the community ready to step up to a long-range view and not just change it every time the pressures go in a different direction? And can the structures be agile enough to adapt to changing environments? If you think about that problem today, look back 12 years and think about how the world has changed in that 12 years. And think about a student starting school today. What will his or her world look like in 12 years? There were no Twitters. There were no Facebooks. All those elements are brand new to the world today. What will the world look like in 12 years, and how do we plan for it? As one of my mentors told me one time, the best strategy is keep your options open. Well, we want to have a structure that can educate and train students of all ages to be prepared with a set of skills that are adaptable to that new environment and are capable of learning new skills and capabilities as they move through life. So here's our team again. I'm Grant Tate, the CEO of The Bridge Ltd. And there are the places you can contact us. Grant at thebridge-ltd.com is my email address. And 434-466-4655 is my phone number. So to get more information about me or the project, you can check YouTube again. or the best place would be to check into LinkedIn. You can look me up on LinkedIn and connect, and then we can keep you up to date with the project easily. So thank you very much for your attention, and then in real life, we move to questions and comments, and we welcome your comments by email or telephone, and keep us in mind because we need the whole community to move out and support this. Thank you so